Malachi chapter 3 and verse 3 says, "And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness." The ancient craft of refining always starts out with ore. Now, ore is rock that contains within it many common minerals, such as copper and zinc, but depending on where the ore is mined, it could hold gold and silver. The very first job the refiner has is to take the rock and break it into pieces to expose the precious metal that's inside. Then the refiner takes and separates the rock from the metal. He takes the metal and puts it in a crucible. A crucible is a fireproof container that will not crack or break under extreme heat. The refiner puts the precious metal into the crucible and he puts it into a furnace. While that metal is in that furnace, it begins to melt. And as it melts, impurities start floating towards the top. Dross is what it's called. And when the refiner sees that dross floating on the top of that liquid metal, he will pull it out of the furnace, and he will take a tool and scrape away the dross and the impurities that have formed upon the top. Then he will turn the heat up in the furnace and put the crucible back into the furnace, because different impurities come out at different temperatures. Each time the refiner pulls the crucible out of the furnace to remove the dross, he looks inside and he can see the beginnings of his reflection. And each time he puts the crucible into the furnace and turns up the heat, pulls it back out and removes the dross, his reflection becomes clearer and clearer as the process goes on. Now, the refiner cannot go off and do another task while he's doing this, because if he leaves the metal too long into the furnace, it will be destroyed. And that's not his purpose. So he keeps his eye on this crucible very carefully while it's in the furnace. Then when he sees that there's no more dross rising to the top of the crucible, he pulls the crucible out of the furnace and he looks down inside and he sees a perfect, clear reflection of his image on top of that crucible. Sometimes God puts people's lives into the crucible and into the fire. He does not do that to destroy them. But when he brings them out, he can see a perfect reflection of himself in their lives, and the whole world can see it. And then the process is finished. The Bible says in Isaiah chapter 48 and verse 10, "Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction."